Welcome to High School Football Report, sponsored by Showcase Sports. I'm Dan Russell with John Riker. And John, we'll start off. We'll talk a little Hammonton football this week. They wrap up the regular season. They take a 28-14 loss to Shawnee. A game that kind of, I think, went sort of similar to how we thought it would go. I mean, I think we both thought Shawnee, although I think you thought Hammonton would do a little bit better.
Yeah, I thought they would play a little better than they did, but they still played pretty
well.
well.
They did play well in this game. I mean, they started off, had a nice drive, ended in a turnover.
Right.
Another one that I think stalled out deep in Shawnee territory. Shawnee goes down, scores, goes up 7-0. And it looks like it's going to go in the locker room 7-0. Hammonton's driving, maybe looking maybe with some points on the board. Then there's a pick six. A kid runs it back. I think it was 80-something yards.
That
for
was
a
really the
touchdown.
heartbreaker. I think if Hammonton would have just not made that huge mistake right there and went into the locker room only down 7-0 to one of the best teams in South Jersey, they would have figured that they had a chance. But being down 2 scores kind of really hurt them, knowing that they were going to get the ball back in the second half, and if they would have put together a drive, maybe tied it up 7-7, was probably a really good feeling to have. And that pick six just kind of deflated that a little bit.
Yeah, and they wound up falling behind 21-0 because Shawnee scored on their first drive in the third quarter. But then they come back and they put two touchdowns on the board. I mean, one your brother Sean.
Sean had a real nice
run. For a 34-yard touchdown run. It was a nice run. He cut it across field, made it in the end zone, and then they had a nice drive. And I think Jay Cooper scored on a 1-yard run. Yeah. When they got down deep, that made it 21-14, and then, again they teams kind of traded some punts back and forth, and then Hammonton was driving the ball a little bit, got around midfield, and I think they had a 4th and 6 situation with about 5 minutes left in the game, and Coach Razzo opted to punt there. He was going to try and pin Shawnee back, maybe get a defensive stop, short field, maybe go and tie the game up. The punt got shanked a little bit. Fazio kind of didn't hit it real well. And the kid from Shawnee made a heads-up play. Scooped up the loose ball, and he brought it back to about the 26-yard line. And then from there, Shawnee scored, went up 28-14. And then, Hammonton did have one last drive, but the kid made a great interception.
Kid right over top of the Jaquan Murray.
Which was that was an athletic play. I mean, that was a really nice interception.
But the punt was the right thing to do in that situation.
Absolutely. I thought so, too.
Fazio's been punting the ball great all year. It just kind of was like a fluke. But had Fazio got a good punt off and pinned them deep and had him to make a big stop, they would have had great field position and to go in. And then
because they were moving the ball. I mean,
they really were.
Second half was, the first half, they moved, but the mistakes hurt them. Like you said, the turnover and then, the interception and that kind of thing. But, in the second half, they were going to put some drives together, and really, I thought if you take the mistakes away, it was a pretty evenly matched game.
And it was 4th and 6, but there was still plenty of time on the clock.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had there been like 1 minute left, they probably
would have had to go for it.
But they knew that they could have got it off, made a defensive stop, and then got the ball back and gave himself another chance. So.
Yeah. And I thought the younger guys played pretty well in this one. I mean, you talk about Cooper had close to 100 yards rushing in this one. Vanderveer had some nice runs. Christian Weissman again looked pretty solid.
He great
quarterback. He threw the ball pretty well too. And they were able to get Victor Solis Mays involved in this one. I think he had 6 catches. One was about a 52-yard gain that set up your brother's touchdown. And I think they were able to use the weapons they had. A lot of guys banged up still. I mean, your brother left with a shoulder injury. We'll find out how.
Yeah, that happened before he scored his touchdown. He just wanted to push through until he got it, and then he was like, he couldn't handle it anymore. But he'll be all right.
I mean, I know he's at the hospital now, so we'll find out how that plays out. This week. They wind up they don't make the playoffs. They just missed out. They're going to get a consolation game. They're going to play Toms River South, and we'll talk about that game in the next segment. But for Hammonton, I think the thing right now is to kind of avoid being under 500. I mean, they're sitting at 4 and 5 right now. It's been a tough year for them. I know Coach Razzo's been a little frustrated because of the injuries, but I think he likes the effort. I mean, that's one thing you can say about Hammonton this year is through all the kind of adversity that they've had, they've always had that big, strong effort every game, which has been nice.
And you want to finish on a high note because, like you said, Cooper and Vanderveer and Sean all having a good season, so the future's bright. Like, it's not like they're graduating that many. Like, Victor, of course, Victor's going to hurt a lot, but Malachi hasn't played all year, so it's kind of like you get Christian, Sean, the whole backfield almost coming back, so it'll be all right.
It should be good. I mean, St. Joe this week, they played Ocean City. A game that was, I think we both thought was going to be a little tougher than a lot of people did, and it turned out to be that way. They wound up winning the game 34-21, but it's a game where they trailed 14-7 at the half. Again, mistakes hurt them in this one. I mean, they had Jada Byers had a long punt return for a touchdown. They came back on a block in the back. They had a blocked field goal in this one. That kind of they could have put points on the board early in the game. I mean, they wound up giving up a touchdown. They fall behind 7-0. They score to tie it up 7-7, but then they give up another score. They trail 14-7, and they kind of turned the ball over to Q Townsville in the second half. He ran for 114 yards in this one, scored 4 touchdowns, and really kind of leaned on him a little bit. Byers finished with more than 100 yards too, the freshman. So St. Joe, kind of went back to the basics. They again the mistakes. Had some penalties in this game. They're winning the game 28. I think it was 28-14, and they're feeling that Ocean City's punting. They muff the punt. Ocean City gets the ball, gets his short field, goes and makes it a 1-touchdown game with about maybe 5-6 minutes left, and you're thinking to yourself, But they were able to answer back. Tucker hit Diego Martinez, and they got a 30-something-yard touchdown pass.
And when you get in a tough situation like that, like they did the right thing by feeding Q, because he's definitely the best player on the team, and the more touches that he has, the more success St. Joe's going to have. But it just wasn't a very clean game for them, like you said.
No,
the penalties and all, and the rough start.
And it's something that they're going to have to work on, because they have the playoffs coming up. They get Holy Cross, and we'll talk about this in the next segment. But for St. Joe, they finished the regular season at 6-3. You had a couple of overtime losses that maybe could have gone the other way.
Right.
And I think, but last week, look at the Ocean City game. I thought Ocean City game planned very well for them. They were able to throw the ball a little bit. The Donahue kid threw 3 touchdown passes in this game. And he's a pretty good quarterback. He was able to move around a little bit. They ran the ball pretty well.
They're a much better Ocean City team than in the past.
They are.
Sure.
And again, a staff with like Frank Lasasso, a Hammonton grad, coaches the defense down there. So he's pretty familiar with St. Joe. And Frank did a nice job game planning. St. Joe did give up some points, but they first half they were in control of the game. St. Joe came out and it looked like Ocean City was playing the way we thought they would, because they were fighting for a playoff spot. And they showed
kind of just played down to their level a little bit, and then
a little bit, yeah. But I thought overall pretty solid game for St. Joe. One of the better all-around games I think they've had this year. They kind of seem, even with the kind of a couple of those kind of you want to call them dumb penalties and some of the other little things that happened. They did turn the ball over a couple times.
Right.
But they finally, I think, after 2 straight losses, kind of finally started putting things together. It looked like they're maybe starting to sort of right the ship a little bit and be headed in the right direction. But again, we'll find out this week when they play Holy Cross. In the playoffs. Playoffs are a little bit different time for St. Joe. You were there for a couple of years, and they kind of. You don't want to say they flipped that switch, but they kind of do to a certain extent. You don't really
come to playoff time. The pressure's on now, and there's no slipping up and getting another chance next week. Now it's time to buckle down and get serious.
Exactly. They're the 3rd seed now in the playoffs. I know a lot of people are kind of down on them this year. I saw a couple places where they're picking Mater Dei to win or picking Hudson Catholic to win. But St. Joe hasn't lost a playoff game in 7 years, so I kind of would lean towards them a little bit. But like I said, so when we come back on High School Football Report, we're going to preview this week's games: Hammonton with Toms River South and St. Joe with Holy Cross, and I'll be coming up right after this.
Maplewood is known for their homemade spaghetti. Their comfortable atmosphere and seating with complimentary bread and salad, along with great service to make it feel like home. At Maplewood, you are sure to get that Italian family love.
Gazette Print Shop is here for you or your business. Whether you need a logo, posters, mugs, stationery, t-shirts, and much more, they can design it and make it a reality. Gazette Print Shop will help you promote your business and spread your message. Give your marketing a new direction with GPS. Gazette Print Shop.
Welcome back to High School Football Report, sponsored by Showcase Sports, and now we'll talk about this week's games. For Hammonton, it's going to be the last game of the season for the Blue Devils. It'll be Thursday night. It's a state crossover game. They used to call them consolation games. Now they call them crossover games. It's a Toms River South team that's 2-6. Comes down here struggling. They've lost 4 straight.
Right.
Kind of a team that plays in the Shore Conference, so you don't really hear too much about them. But they have a few weapons. They run kind of like an option kind of offense. They like to run the football a little bit, and I think they're going to put a lot of pressure on the corners of Hammonton, on the outside guys. Pardon me, so you're going to get your linebackers and those kind of guys that play well.
They came to us last year and they played us pretty tough. So they're not a bad football team by any means. I know their record says that, but they're really talented in different ways.
They are, and a team that they're going to present some different challenges. I think they do have a few athletes on the team. The line's pretty big. I was looking at the roster, so maybe they can do some damage up front. I think if you're Hammonton, I think if you're Jim Razzo, you're probably going to stay with the younger kids. We talked about Cooper and Vanderveer and those guys. Maybe try and just run the football a little bit, do your basic stuff. Wouldn't be surprised to see them open things up a little bit. Maybe try some trick stuff. Just maybe try and have a little fun in the last game.
You don't want to hold anything back. This is it, so you might as well let it all out now.
Yeah, I think for Hammonton, big thing is going to be keeping guys healthy. It's been an issue all year. Hopefully, maybe your brother can get in a little bit if he's feeling a little better.
If not, then we'll see Obang get a bunch of carries.
Again, a senior kid who can maybe can get, like you said, maybe have a chance to do something in the last game of his career. I think we'll see Christian Weissman under center again this week. Again, he's looked pretty good the last 2 weeks. And for Hammonton, again, you want to avoid maybe being that first team in 20-some years to finish under 500.
Yeah, it's never good to have a season with a losing record. So I think they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that they win this game. Even though it may not mean anything, it's just a pride type of thing. That they're not going to let Toms River South come all the way down here and beat us.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you figure you want to take advantage of the fact that they do have about a little more than an hour, maybe an hour and 10, hour and 15-minute ride to get down here on a Thursday night. So, those kids have to go to school all day, come out, drive down here.
Right.
To play a game that, they're probably not going to have a big group of fans, again, because of the ride. So you'd probably be playing in front of a crowd. It's going to be all Hammonton. I'm not sure what kind of crowd Hammonton's going to get on.
Last year it was a playoff game, and they hardly had. There was probably 10, 20 people in the stands. So
exactly.
For a consolation game, I don't think we'll see that many people driving down from Toms River.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's important for them. I think to finish on a positive note. I mean, it's been kind of a rough season for Hammonton. I mean, they've lost 4 out of the last 5. So I think if they can go home, at the end of the night on Thursday night with a win in their back pocket, they can say, hey, you know what? That's something we can build on for next year.
Right.
We have a lot of these guys coming back, and an opportunity for these kids to kind of show what they can do and maybe kind of earn some spots for next year and be encouraged about what the offseason is.
Come the first game next year, this is going to be the game that they remember the most. So you don't want to end on a bad note.
Exactly. St. Joe, on the other hand, they have Holy Cross in a playoff game. Holy Cross comes in at 6-3, a team that has won, I think, 4 in a row. And but I don't think they've beaten anybody with more than 3 wins this year. They're kind of when they play some good teams, they struggle a little bit. They have scored some points. Their defense is pretty solid. Again, team's going to mix it up a little bit. They'll throw. They have some decent wide receivers on the team. The line's pretty good, and a couple good running backs. The quarterback's a nice little player. I like him a little bit. He's throwing some good passes this year. If you're St. Joe, I mean, we've said it all year long. I mean, the trick is going to be, again, play a clean game.
Yeah.
And it's something that they really haven't done yet.
Get the run game going early, and then everything will open up. Just feed Q as much as you can because he's going to make plays. Yeah,
and they are a little nicked up too. I mean, I know Q's playing with a little bit of an ankle injury. He hasn't been feeling that well either. The couple young guys in the backfield, Jada Byers, Nate Johnson, they're still trying to kind of figure things out a little bit. You see glimpses of what those guys can be because there's a lot of talent there. I wouldn't be surprised to see Matt Tucker carry the ball a couple times in this. Maybe they'll run some load option, that kind of stuff in this game to kind of keep. I think they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit.
Just keep them honest a little bit every now and then.
Well, yeah, because I think what Holy Cross is going to look at the film and they're going to say what we said last segment, which is St. Joe relies a lot on Q, and I think they've been playing a lot of teams that are putting 8-9 guys up in that box this year, and unless they're able to throw the ball and make accurate throws, and connect with guys. I mean, Diego Martinez I think is going to be huge in this one. Him and Tucker seem to have pretty much developed kind of a nice little thing they got going where they're on the same page a lot. I think if he can find Diego downfield, that's going to open up a lot of things for St. Joe too because if they can stretch the field
out of the box and give more running lanes to hit. So.
And they're going to need the line to play well this week. I mean, Holy Cross has some big linemen. St. Joe's line has been they've had some lapses this year where they've kind of had trouble blocking people, making holes for the backs.
You're going to have to lean on JD and Micholi to open up those holes for them. Your senior leaders because this is their last go at it.
It could potentially be,
so it could, if they lose, this is it for them, so they're not going to let that happen.
And a good chance it's going to be the last home game for St. Joe this year. They are the 3 seed, so if they win, I would think modern day is the 2 is going to beat St. Anthony, so they'll be going up to Monmouth County next weekend. If they win, if they beat Holy Cross and play an undefeated modern day team, that if they do win, they'll be coming in on game 10-0. Right. So it's going to have a tall task for St. Joe there. We talked about it in the last segment, though. I mean, when it gets to the playoff time, St. Joe knows how to win, and they kind of, the coaching staff's going to have these guys ready to play. They're going to game plan properly. It's just going to come down to execution, I think, and not making those mistakes. They have been able to cut the penalties down. I mean, I'm trying to see what they had last week penalty-wise. I mean, they only had 3 the week before in the prep game. Where is it? Actually, they had 12 penalties last week for 95 yards, so they weren't able to. But I know one of them was a big one on that punt return that hurt them a lot. So, turn the ball over. They had a couple turnovers last week. I think they had a fumble on a punt return. So, I mean, for them, I think if they can minimize mistakes and control the clock a little bit, keep Holy Cross's offense off the field, I think they'll be able to pull out a win this week. So, that pretty much wraps that up. When we come back on High School Football Report, we're going to have some predictions on these games, and that'll be coming up right after this.
Back pain? See Doc Manny today. Dr. Emmanuel Sanfilippo is a certified chiropractor and sports practitioner. With more than 25 years' experience, he knows what you need to feel like yourself again. Go to Showcase Sports when you're looking for high school sports equipment and apparel, featuring gear with the logos of the Hammonton Blue Devils, St. Joseph Wildcats, and other high school teams.
54 Fitness is the gym that has everything you need. From various workout equipment, treadmills, to many weight machines, 54 Fitness will get you in shape.
Welcome back to High School Football Report, sponsored by Showcase Sports. Now we'll have some predictions on these games. We'll start with Hammonton Thursday night. Toms River South comes in. I kind of think the Blue Devils are going to want to make a statement here that, kind of maybe kind of save their season a little bit. I think they cruise in this one. I have them winning this game 35-7.
Yeah, I think that having them being victors last game, they're going to feed them the ball a lot. We'll look for good things from Cooper and Vanderveer and all them. I think they're going to win this game 42-10.
Okay. And then we'll go to St. Joe. St. Joe, again, hosts Holy Cross 1 o'clock on Saturday at Bending Field. Holy Cross is a nice team, but I don't think they've played anybody as good as St. Joe this year. I think St. Joe's going to be really motivated. I think they will kick it up a notch in the playoffs. I think St. Joe cruises here. I think they win this game 42-6.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think St. Joe's finally kind of got their swagger back a little bit. They lost 2 in a row. They finally get a win under their belt. I think they win this game 35-7.
Okay. That wraps up another edition of High School Football Report, sponsored by Showcase Sports. When we come back next week, we'll talk about both of these games, and if anybody's still playing, we'll preview that game as well. Hopefully St. Joe will win their playoff games. We'll have at least one game to look at next week, and maybe we'll offer a little recap on Hammonton's season. That'll be coming up next week, so be sure to check it out.